When he heard that John was arrested, Jesus stepped out and stepped up his ministry. Does that not seem strange to you? The powers that be have always aligned themselves against God and his will. Just like it was then, it has continued today. Those in authority cannot stand any power that operates outside of their sphere of control. It's like they run under the motto of, if we can't run it, we kill it. Prophets set the stage for the coming of the expected Messiah. They sounded the alarm that alerts the people to get ready for his coming. Follow the signs. Down through the years, the powers that be have been reaching for and taking out prophets. Stealthily, we are approaching that time when the forces that are currently being projected from behind the stages will show their ugly faces, daring and silencing the voice of messengers all over again. When that time comes, what are you going to do? Please get your journal to note your reflections. What price are you prepared to pay as a believer? How much are you willing to risk to preach this gospel in obedience to God's instructions? Are you going to keep it quiet and play it safe to buy yourself time and live a little longer? Are you going to run out of town because the powers that be are reaching for your neck? Are you going to tone down the message that God is giving you, dilute it so as not to stir up trouble, blend it with whatever is acceptable in order not to rock the boat? Are you going to stand your ground and speak the truth in love, determined that if I perish, I perish? When the news is hanging down, reaching for the necks of believers, will you still be a disciple, or will you change your song and shift your stand to stay alive? Truth is, we never really know how we will respond to life-threatening challenges until we are confronted by them. For Jesus, hearing about John's arrest fueled him rather than deter his manifestation at the time. Nothing fires one up like purpose. It wakes you up in the morning and gets you out the door every day. It keeps you on your toes and compels you to reach beyond you for so much more. It gets you through tough times and keeps you going against all odds. Purpose will get you home tired to your bones, rock you to sleep, and wake you up again the next morning. Nobody and nothing can stop anyone driven by purpose. All the excuses that stop others in their tracks become the driver that keeps the person of purpose going, refusing to give up until they attain whatever they were reached to reach. Purpose drove Jesus out and kept him preaching. I'm sure he was in no doubt of what the hunting powers will do to him. Still, he did not change John's message to make it easier or buy himself more time. He continued where John stopped. His every step of obedience to God and his command was fulfilling scriptures that had gone ahead many years before he came on the scene. He left his hometown, walked past the shadows of obscurity, and stepped into the center stage of God's call for his life. When John the Baptist was killed for preaching truth, Jesus rose up to preach the same truth that cost the prophet's head. When death sentence was delivered swiftly and people were reconsidering the risk of preaching, Jesus took his place to answer the call of God. Today, as darkness is descending and the light of some are going out and burning low for safety reasons, will you run your faith into hiding, or will you allow the faith to fuel your light so you can burn brighter unto the perfect day? My childhood dream was to be a nun and to serve God with all I am and all I have. That was until I met Jesus and surrendered my life to him. It was a beautiful decision until my family turned against me. I was given two choices: turn my back on this newfound faith and be forgiven for the error of considering being a Protestant, or continue in my choice of faith and be disowned by my family. I was required to sign an undertaking that I would never again be associated with this born-again madness. I mean no disrespect toward my loving parents who had done their best to raise us in their faith. But I couldn't sign that paper and betray the truth that has caught up with me at last. When you don't know, you don't know. But once you know, taste and see truth. It is hard to unknow, untaste, and unsee the reality of your experiences. That was the beginning of years of tribulation, but this faithful God, for whom I stood in those hours of test, held me and led me through the valleys of shadow of death that I had to travel. He paved ways in the wilderness, delivered and provided when I didn't know how it would happen. He brought me out into a spacious arena of glory and eventually crowned my family with his salvation and peace. After John died, Jesus could have turned off his light and lived an honest, silent life. But no, having a purpose and an understanding of his life's mission wouldn't let him live and die in hiding. He not only stepped out, he started recruiting friends who will take over the baton and continue from wherever he is stopped. He knew that John was no exception. There will be attempts to stop him too. He understood the need for continuity, and he recruited brothers and strangers from different professions and walks of life. He gathered those who were willing to go with him and live like him so they could come close enough to learn to be like him. He went everywhere he could with them. He preached every chance he got. There were no limitations, be it in the synagogue, in the marketplace, at parties, in people's homes. Wherever he went, he taught people about God. He allowed his disciples to experience what God could do with surrendered hearts. He allowed strangers who would come close to see what God was like in human form. And everywhere he went, he healed all manner of afflictions. Word spread like wildfire. Someone is kicking sickness in the face like crazy. All kinds of sickness. Not only were people coming to see who this miracle worker is, they were gathering sick people from wherever they could find them as an excuse to see God in human form and witness his power to heal, to save, and to deliver. He blew up that city, and not long, people were trooping in from out of town. Everyone wanted to see this Jesus who claimed to be God by calling himself the Son of God. Who is this guy that has the guts to claim to be the Messiah, knowing that is enough to get him killed? I gotta see him. They gathered to see and hear this unschooled teacher that taught the word of God with such authority that baffled and ruffled the scholars. Wicked demons and stubborn situations bowed at his command. Sicknesses and diseases could not resist the power of his voice. Signs and wonders followed everywhere he went. This is the power in the gospel we are called to preach. May we not preach it with fancy, empty words when Jesus said that we can do greater works than he did. May God help us to rise and shine as darkness descends all around us. May we declare his goodness and show forth the praise of our God in everything we do and everywhere we go. Check out the links and the scriptures below for additional help. Feel free to share your response in the comments. Be inspired. You are a star, and it's your time to shine. Join me in the next video still on this series of divine interruption as we address the question, will you be salt and light or garbage?